The Chargers have officially hired Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach. Bro, I knew it was going to happen. Everyone was saying in my comment section of my last video that the Chargers have messed it up and that Jim Harbaugh was scared away by the Spani, Dean Spanos and John Spanos. But look at this, man. It happened. You have to keep up the good mental state. I know it's tough as a Chargers fan. We've been beaten and abused, but I think this is literally the turning point of this franchise, man. How often has Dean Spanos ever talked like this, saying that he is willing to do what it takes to win as a franchise, willing to spend the money, willing to give up the power away from his son, John Spanos, who is still the director of football operations right now, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but willing to do all of this in order to win in Los Angeles. I think if the Chargers were not in Los Angeles, that Dean Spanos probably wouldn't have had a change of heart like this. We've never heard him speak like that in the media and have all of these reports come out saying he is willing to sacrifice all of this stuff in order to win on the football field. And now Jim Harbaugh coming to Los Angeles. I don't know how much money he's going to be getting, but I'm just going to assume, the reports aren't out yet, but I'm going to say 16 and a half, like 17 mil a year. Maybe I'm overestimating it a little bit. Maybe it's more around 15, but still a lot of money for a head coach. And you're going to pair him with the GM. GM has not been announced yet. I'm just going to go on Twitter really quickly and refresh because I need to know if there's a GM announced. It is not announced yet. It's just Jim Harbaugh right now as the head coach. But if you remember from my video that I just made, Brandon Brown is still in Los Angeles right now after he finished his second interview. Well, I don't even know if it's finished actually. He may still be in the interview room with the Chargers, but Brandon Brown is in Los Angeles. Jim Harbaugh did not even leave Los Angeles. Does this mean that Jim Harbaugh and Brandon Brown are now going to be the tandem for the Chargers front office? I would be totally okay with that. But the best thing is that Jim Harbaugh is with the Chargers, man. He brought Michigan back up to that level that Michigan football deserves to be at. By the way, if you're a Michigan fan, I got nothing against you. I kind of knew that he was going to the Chargers for a while now, but Michigan fans, you were kind of, what you were saying, no, I don't think it's going to happen. He's flying back to Ann Arbor. He's not leaving Michigan. He loves Michigan. He's going to get all of this stuff from whoever the athletic director is. He's going to be barred from, if he gets banned, he's not going to have anything happen to his contract, and he's going to get millions and millions of dollars. But I kind of knew he wanted to be in the NFL and win a Super Bowl from about December when all of these reports were coming out. It just made so much sense. And now we got Jim Harbaugh. His son, Jay Harbaugh, is what I'm going to be looking at right now. Is he going to be coming in on this coaching staff for the Chargers? I think yes, he will. But the main question that I have is Jay Harbaugh going to be the special teams coordinator? Because I love Ryan Ficken, man. Ryan Ficken, I think he absolutely needs to stay on this coaching staff because he has done so much for this team, so much for this roster. The special teams unit was the most consistent unit on this team last year, and I think he absolutely deserves a spot to stay on this coaching staff. He deserves to stay here. He just needs to get to know Jim Harbaugh a little bit. Hey, man, take him out, buy him a steak or something, maybe taking him to Justin Herbert's house and have Justin Herbert cook up a steak, something like that. And then you just get on the coaching staff just from being a good guy and having what you did last year as your resume, because that is a very good resume for Ryan Ficken. And now I'm also looking at Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was blocked from being interviewed by the Bears, we know, recently. So does Kellen Moore stay on this coaching staff? And is Jim Harbaugh okay with that? Or was Kellen Moore just blocked from interviewing with the Bears because the Chargers wanted to get this coaching staff finalized, or really, rather, they wanted to get that head coach finalized and then let Jim Harbaugh decide, is he going to keep Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator or not? But that is what is going on with the offense and now the defense, because this is what is very exciting to me. Michigan's defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, is probably going to be brought with Jim Harbaugh. There's been a lot of reports about that happening, and I think it should happen because Jesse Minter has done a lot of freaking good for that Michigan defense. He is probably the best defensive coordinator in college football right now, and he should honestly, even if it wasn't for Jim Harbaugh, he should deserve a shot at going into the NFL and coaching his own unit as a defense. I mean, teams like the Packers, the Eagles, they would love to just take Jesse Minter from the Chargers or take Jesse Minter from Michigan, because this is one of those guys that is on the rise, man. Jesse Minter, hopefully he comes with Jim Harbaugh to coach the defense. Hopefully Ryan Ficken stays as special teams coordinator and coaches the special teams, and we have Jay Harbaugh under him, maybe being something like an assistant head coach or a special teams assistant, something like that. He could do whatever he wants on this coaching staff as long as we got Daddy Harbaugh here, bro. Jim Harbaugh, woo! I'm so bolted up right now because I'm just reacting to this news. This is really going to put the Chargers on the map, bro. And also, let's talk about the offensive coordinators. Who would we get as offense if if Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to keep Kellen Moore? Because I'm not positive that he does. I'm leaning towards thinking that he probably wants to have his own offensive staff, right? I mean, what do you guys think? You think he would keep Kellen Moore? I'm not too positive that he would. And I think if he goes with a different coach on offense, what about a guy like Pep Hamilton? Because Pep Hamilton was with Jim Harbaugh in Stanford when he was the quarterback's coach and Jim Harbaugh was the head coach, and they had Andrew Luck. So Pep Hamilton has ties to the Chargers already because we all know what he did with Justin Herbert in, I believe it was the rookie year, right? When Anthony Lynn was the head coach, Pep Hamilton was here. And then he also coached Andrew Luck at Stanford. I don't know if I said that. I'm all over the place right now, bro. I'm so freaking excited about this. But Pep Hamilton has ties to Jim Harbaugh with Stanford and then to the Chargers because he coached here, obviously. So I think that is a very good option to come in and be offensive coordinator. I think he deserves that shot. Let me just make sure that nothing has happened right now. There's no GM being announced yet. I am telling you, bro, I think it's going to be Brandon Brown, and I keep checking Twitter right now. I'm scrolling through Twitter right now because I am pretty certain that this is going to happen very soon. Like I said in my last video, bro, I don't think it is a coincidence that Jim Harbaugh was brought in for that second interview at the same exact time that Brandon Brown was brought in for that second interview. And a lot of people in my last video, I was just reading the comments a little bit, they didn't like that Brandon Brown is from the New York Giants and he's the assistant GM with them. But let me tell you this. Brandon Brown was with the Eagles before that from 2017 and on. I think he was there for 5 years, left in 2022, something like that, just off the top of my head. I'm going to make a full video on him if he is hired as GM, which it's looking like he probably will be. But Brandon Brown was with the Eagles for that time. And he was not actually in the college scouting department. He was in the pro scouting department. And the Eagles did a lot of good in free agency and roster management during that period, 2017 to 2022. And you can just look at guys like Kaiser White, A.J. Brown. I mean, the Eagles had a lot of good stuff going on in terms of free agency as well as the draft. That's why they won the freaking Super Bowl that one year. Brandon Brown was a part of that. And then he was also a part of the Giants going from that terrible season to almost making the playoffs. Or did they make the playoffs? I don't even know. They finished like 9-8 that one year. And I think they made the playoffs. Let me look it up. They did. They actually made the playoffs. They went from being 4-13, and then Brandon Brown's first year there with Brian Daboll, his first year there as well. They went 9-7-1, won the wild card against the Vikings, and then lost in the divisional against the Eagles. That was his former team. So really, I mean, that was like a win-win for Brandon Brown there. But it's not like Brandon Brown was the guy with the Giants when the Giants were really bad. He brought them to the playoffs his very first season there. This year obviously wasn't great. They had a lot of injuries to deal with, but he was able to get a guy like Tommy DeVito up and ready for action, a quarterback who nobody even knew, and they were able to do well there. So expect Brandon Brown probably to be hired very, very shortly here. And if not, then maybe Ian Cunningham. I know I keep bringing up his name, but Brandon Brown was the only one to get a second interview. Jim Harbaugh was the only head coaching candidate to get a second interview. So that's why I think it's about a certainty that this is all going to happen right now. And Brandon Brown, you are probably a Los Angeles Charger, but Jim Harbaugh, woohoo! Who's got it better than us?